Welcome to the Lap Down podcast. It's 7:30 in the morning in the UK, and I feel kind of tired. Alex is in Perth. It's not 7:30 in Perth. He's, well, dressed appropriately, actually. He's come for the snazzy shirt again, whilst I'm sat here in a hoodie. So what a contrast of environments.
Hello. Yes, it's 42 degrees here today.
Jeez Louise. How?
I don't think it's 42 degrees for you.
I don't think it's ever been 42 degrees.
No, I went on a 10-minute walk to the shops earlier and I put a little bit of sunscreen on because I was wearing a sleeveless shirt. So that's where I'm at for my day. But we're sort of rounding off the year. I think this is the last podcast of 2024. So we're going to have a little bit of a look back. We've got some news to begin with. But then, we thought we'd pick out a couple of things that perhaps go under the radar of 2024 otherwise. People are doing their, 1 to 20 driver ratings and whatever. Last week's episode, if you missed it for us, a goodie. Us rating all of last year's, last season's Grand Prix. But we thought we'd take a slightly different approach to looking back on last year. But, hey, we've had some news first, Dan Jads. We've had some news.
No way. Shock horror. Sergio Perez is no longer with us. Rest in pieces.
And breathe.
It's one of those kind of news things that I don't really know why it had as much traction as what it did. Everybody knew it was going to happen. It's finally come around happening, and everybody really probably knew what was going to happen in terms of the replacement side of it. But my word, did it generate some headlines and some clickbait from people, including us, throughout the course of the season as to Christian Horner's been sneaking out of Williams' driver motorhome thingy, and then they're going to buy Sainz, but they can't buy Sainz. They're going to buy Colapinto, and then they're going to bring up other blokes, and then they're going to do this, and then could it be Bottas, and could it be? No, it's just going to be the bloke who was driving for their second team on the grid. No way! What a surprise! But
it's the one we said first.
They're two teams that aren't related to anybody in any way, shape, or form. They are two completely separate entities. But Sergio Perez, he's done and dusted for the time being. Who knows? He might come back for Chevrolet or whatever they're going to be called. Corvettel Racing / Andretti Motorsport thing. So,
it's a little bit. Thank God it's over, isn't it? The whole situation, one way or the other. You know what? Even if they'd have doubled down on him, we would have all laughed. But at least they'd have made a decision. I think it was horrific while it was sort of hanging over everything. The thing for me on the Sergio Perez situation, though. It was a little bit like really needing to go for a wee and not being home yet, right? But you know where you are. You're on the motorway, you're driving home, you are busting for a piss, but you know that you're like 9 minutes away from home.
With traffic.
And it's just holding it in, and then there's so many little hiccups that annoy you along the way and so many things that remind you of the disastrous situation that you're in. But then you get home and the release is just the best thing of your life, right? And that's where we're at now with Sergio Perez being binned, is just having a long overdue piss. And everything feels good again.
Why do you think they didn't do it midway through the season?
Oh, that's not a question I was prepared for.
Or was there, or genuinely, because let's be honest, they are one team with 4 cars. Let's not try and kind of skirt around the fact that they're two separate things. But did they have too much kind of admin / housekeeping to worry about whilst Daniel Ricciardo was kind of shitting the bed at the junior team, and then therefore couldn't really do anything? Or if Ricciardo had done well, would it have been a quick kind of Perez, off you go, Ricciardo, you're in, and Lawson, you're in, done, lovely, cheers, thanks? Or do you think it was a case of better the devil you know type situation? Or I don't know. I'm curious really as to see whether you do have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if they missed an opportunity and had a bit of a free hit with Danny Rick. Because it got to that. I mean, remember this at Spa, I think it was. Everyone had decided that it was happening, and I think Danny Rick thought it was happening. If we believe the rumours, we don't actually know, but we all thought it was kind of a done deal that they were going to chuck Danny Rick in the car and be done of Sergio. I'm always going to be on the Danny Rick side. That's what I do. But even objectively, I can't help but feel like that wouldn't have been the worst idea, because it was almost win-win. That if he came in and didn't do great for the rest of the season, I don't think they would have lost any goodwill from anyone. And I think a lot of people would have gone, we used to like Danny Rick, very good driver. We love Danny Rick. We get why you brought him back. And then you give him a big send-off at the end of the year and you say, no more, thank you, Daniel. We're having the other Australian that's not Australian. We're having Liam. And there was an easier narrative there, I think.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why they, shot the deer in the leg and then shot it in the other leg and then shot it in the arm and then sort of shot it in the tail and then eventually tranquilized it and never ended up killing it anyway until no one was looking, and then they shot it in the head.
Unless there was some real kind of truth in those rumours with Carlos Slim and the F1 TV and Telmex and all this other stuff, where it was a case of, no, you are not doing what you want to do. I mean, those rumours, they could be rumours, but equally there is some kind of foundation blocks there that you could kind of follow nicely to where you got to that story. So, I mean, potentially that was something, but yeah, I don't know, because it did get to a point towards the end of the season that you just thought, like, why are you even bothering entering 2 cars? This has got to this stage, like, just knock it on the head. So I don't know whether there was that kind of thing. Obviously, they haven't honoured the contract because they gave him a new one this year and they've just terminated it going into next year. So it's not really like they've saved any face, unless there was a clause in that contract that said you will see the end of 2024. That's entirely possible. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was a contract with an option. I have no clue whatsoever. But I don't feel... I feel relieved more than happy that he's not going to be about, if that makes sense. Like, he was always quite a... Well, up to this year, he was always quite kind of a likeable and kind of pleasant chap in broadcasts and when he was interviewed on the telly and stuff like that, and seemed to carry himself particularly well. So in terms of that side of it, we haven't lost an arsehole. We haven't lost a Mazepin or something like that everybody's popping champagne corks. But, I mean... Hopefully, if what we had at the end of this season carries through to next season, we're going to have another car thrown into a mix of being able to do things. But I think you're probably going to lead on to the fact that actually that other car is slightly tainted / poisoned, and the wee that you were hoping to have by the time you got home was actually done in the seat of the car. And now Liam Lawson has to go and sit in your urinated Formula 1 seat.
Yeah. Weird one that I think on that everyone... sort of forgot about, and I'm not going to let them forget, just to box off the Perez stuff. Remember when Perez's dad came out and made a really weird statement in an empty room that I don't know what that room was for because there was nothing in it, but it was massive, and he set up his big fancy camera and then took an Instagram picture of it and yelled in all caps, "I'm coming after the lying journalists. I'm going to publish a name for all the lying journalists on Monday and I will come for you." And then he never said anything ever again because his son got binned. Where are the journalists, Antonio? Is it possible you were the one that was lying the whole time? Like, it was... Like, Sergio, go get your dad, mate. Like, your dad's running off. Your dad's off on an absolute fucking mad one. But yeah, that just popped up in my feed the other day. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. He did this weird hostage video... behind the scenes, I'm coming for you, but I'm not coming for you anymore.
Naughty boys.
No, you're lying. So God knows what that was, but it seems like perhaps the journalists weren't lying, and maybe it was Antonio that's lying, and he posed with his 3 cases of Red Bull and 2 Macs with Red Bull stickers on them.
Bless him.
Yeah. Good luck, Liam Lawson, is the first thing I'll say, and I say that both genuinely and sarcastically. Fair play to the lad. He's obviously quick. I'd like to see him do well. He is a relatively charismatic and annoyingly fit guy. That I would quite happily see him come in and go 1-2. If Max is going to win, I'd be quite happy to see Lawson be P2. I think that seat is absolutely cursed, and it comes with a free Frogate. The Frogate is also cursed because, I mean, the bloke can't win. And for me, it's the same as if Yuki came into that seat, and it's why I'm almost kind of happy that they haven't gone with Yuki, because what's the win in that seat? How do you actually justify being in that? Anything other than beating Max Verstappen or being within tenths of Max Verstappen, not easy to do, is people are going to jump all over you. Oh, it should have been this person, it should have been that person. The pressure that you are under is not just the pressure of being Max Verstappen's teammate anymore. It's now the pressure of, oh yeah, you were it's that meme of the Grim Reaper. You've knocked on all these other doors and killed all these other drivers to get into that seat. why haven't you won the World Championship by round 6? Your shit.
Yeah.
It should have been this person. It should have been Mazepin. What does the bloke have to do? What does he have to do to win next year?
I don't know. There's two interesting points. I think the one point there is said he can't win. Actually, is a very well explained point that you made there in the kind of theoretical sense of that nobody's going to think you're going to win. But actually, will Red Bull actually let him win? That's another kind of question to it. And unless Max really drops the ball in 2025, and it is going to be a massive ball drop. Like, it's not going to be a case of, there's been a slight drop-off in form. This is going to be like a monumental, because he is, well, at the moment, by far one of the, if not the best Formula One driver on the grid at the minute. Flip that up, Dutchy fans, and enjoy that for a second. But at best case scenario, Red Bull, if it's right, they might let him win a couple of races. If not, and if everything that we've heard is led to believe, every resource is going to go into car 33 or car 1. Yeah. All the good people are going to go that way. All the new parts are going to go that way. There is a rumour that they don't even have the same car, the two of them. The car is set up for Max Verstappen. It's not set up to be drivable for the other bloke. So if Liam Lawson can't get with that programme, we are going to be in another situation where we're going to have another guy, but isn't Sergio Perez, flapping around in 8th, 9th, 10th place, dropping out of qualifying here and there, going, it's too much understeer today. It's got a snap in the back of something. Because that's how Max sets the car up, and that's how he likes it to drive, and that's what Red Bull do, because they are a number one team driver, which is fine. Yeah, that's always been the case. The other one as well that I was kind of interested about is I saw it, I can't remember the name of the podcast or the social media page, but it came up and it was like, Red Bull are failing to learn from any mistakes that they've made in the build-up to this point. It's worked with Max, but it's worked once in what Liam Lawson might be the at least 8th, if not kind of 10th driver to go through that program and get promoted to that number one seat essentially too early. And even in recent time, it's happened with Gasly. They went too early. It happened with Albon. It went too early. You can add Daniel Kvyat to that. You can add, I don't know whether John-Eric Verne got there. I don't know whether Carlos Sainz got there. You've got a lot of kind of like ex-Red Bull junior drivers just littered amongst the grid and other motorsport kind of genres that have been put into that team too early and never ever been given a chance to actually kind of prove their worth. And there is every chance that we get 6 races into the championship in 2025 and everybody's kind of going, well, why the hell did they not promote Yuki? Why was it Liam? And then they could swap them around. Who knows? They are that ruthless of an organisation. They could just go, no, Liam, you're out, Yuki, you're in.
Yeah. But they weren't ruthless this year with Perez, which is the weird thing. They're this absolutely ruthless organisation that for some reason Antonio Perez, holding all the files, clearly, decided not to be ruthless this year. Here's a question.
Yes.
What will the fizzy caffeine rules be next year? Yeah. We've seen papaya rules.
Yeah.
What's taurine rules at Red Bull, do you reckon, next year with Lawson and Verstappen? Are there taurine rules, or is get the fuck out of the way taurine rules?
I think that's probably the rule. Rule. Look, let's be honest. I don't think in the time that we've really kind of been around with Red Bull that we've actually seen for the duration of a season that drivers have been able to race against one another. They don't like it. You had, was it Verstappen and Ricciardo driving into the back of one another at Baku a couple of years ago, or more than a couple of years ago. You had the multi-21 situation a long, long time ago with Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel at Sepang. It's not something as a team they particularly like. And I struggle to see in 2025 that their enjoyment for inter-team battles suddenly kind of increasing. I don't think it's what they're there for. I think they're there to get the job done. They're there to win the World Drivers' title and the second driver to not be shit enough so they make sure that they just wrap up the constructors because they picked up 100 points or something. Yeah. Would be my take.
I'm going to go, to box this off, I'm going to go real simple, blunt question. Right, and I want elevator answer. Did Red Bull make the right decision with Liam Lawson, or should it have been Yuki Tsunoda? Should it have been someone else entirely? Go.
I don't know if there is a right decision.
Ooh.
I genuinely
other driver
don't.
Was another.
Yeah, genuinely, I don't know if there is a right decision because, as you said at the very start of this kind of segment of this podcast, the seat, from what we are led to understand, is poisoned. And I don't think it matters who you put in there. I really don't. I don't think it matters. I think they've gone for a safe option, and I don't necessarily think... I think what they've done is if they've kind of kept the relationship with Honda nicely, because they know that they're not going to have to get upset with Yuki next year, but they can get upset with Liam if it doesn't work, because the Kiwis don't generally provide a great deal of sponsorship or engines or anything like that, but the Japanese with the kind of Honda partnership probably works quite well for the time being. And if they'd have gone out and spent big money on somebody else, would Carlos Sainz have liked to have gone and sat in a number 2 car and not really have had an opportunity to have challenged for a World Drivers' title? Not to say he's going to do it in Williams, but maybe there is a project there that he sees with Williams in 2026, 2027 that he goes, actually, I could be competing for the World Drivers' Championship. Whereas in Red Bull, he could sit there in 26, 27. As long as Max still wants to do it, he isn't going to be competing, personally.
Yeah.
And that's not Max's fault either.
Let me rephrase then, again, because I just want a solid answer. Let me rephrase.
I gave you one. There isn't a right answer.
No, let me rephrase. You're Christian Horner. You have to pick a second driver for next year. Who is it? Go.
Lawson, because it's easy.
Yeah. He's cute. Again, he likes Lightning McQueen. It's funny.
Yeah. Ka-chow. Are you in agreement? Do you think that's the easy option for Red Bull?
Yeah. I think so. I think Yuki's a headache. As much as he's lovable and he's funny and he is a talented driver and he is quick, I think he causes you more headaches than Liam Lawson does. And I think Christian Horner would like a Panadol and not a headache. And I think Liam Lawson is a New Zealand branded paracetamol.
Lovely.
There you go.
Well done, Liam. Right, Congratulations and good luck.
Well done. You're a medicine, Liam. Yeah. Right, let's look. We've got 3 categories to look back on for 2024 that we've pulled out as clearly the things of highest importance. Right? And these are our livery of the year, our driver of the year, and ultimately, which is the very foundation of this podcast, fuck up of the year. So we'll start with livery of the year. I've come dressed as the Aston Martin livery this year with a little bit of Alpine thrown in. Alpine going to get an honourable mention from me. They're not actually going to get mentioned in the main bit, but they can have an honourable mention from me for when they actually did go the all-pink livery. RIP and peace the camo livery, but at least they did go pink at one point.
Yep.
We'll start with you then, Dan, on liveries. Who was your 2024 livery of the year? And this can be standard livery, this can be one-off liveries, this can be whatever. What was the best-looking car that rolled out of a garage at some point?
Great question. So for me, the best-looking car that rolled out of the garage in 2024, I've got 3 contenders. I've got 2 honourable mentions, and I've got an ultimate winner. So I think, firstly, the honourable mention number 1 is just the standard Ferrari.
Okay.
Like that it just it just works, doesn't it? It's not the most creative thing in the world. It's red. They know red works. It's their colour, and they do it really well. And I think
they got the red right this year as well.
Yeah,
this year's hex code,
maroon or anything.
Good hex code. I'm rewatching 21 at the minute. The 21 hex code, yuck. And I think the 22 hex code where they went like the colour of your hoodie and tried to go like red wine. So, oh no, yuck. Oh no, no, get rid of it.
Give me red.
I think they went the right hex code this year.
Give me red. The other one will be the McLaren livery at Monaco. The
yellow and green Senna one?
Yellow and green. It was kind of like the Senna memorial celebration livery because he did well at Monaco. Why they didn't race it in Brazil?
The Senna celebrations, by the way, that seem to have... We had about 80 of them this year. At every race weekend, every team did 3 or 4 Senna tributes of some description.
But... The Monaco McLaren livery loses points because why didn't they run it in Brazil?
Yeah.
That would have made more sense. But anyway, because of that point, my livery of the year, and because I like a bit of cheese. I like a bit of Forza Motorsport livery designer. But my livery of the year is the Haas livery for the US Grand Prix. The stars and stripes, eagles... red, white and blue, just looked the bollocks and just genuinely kind of, they embodied that. They were like, this is our home race, we're in America, we're American, let's get some people on board. And it's probably one of the few times that we've actually mentioned Haas in one of these podcasts. So there you go.
Yep.
There's my medal to you, Haas.
Valid. No, I thought for a second there you were going to go, because I nearly honourable mentioned them, and I decided not to, and I thought maybe you were going to give them a shout out here. I thought you were going to go the Alpines in Spa when they did the Deadpool Wolverine slashy livery. Quite cool, but a little bit tame. My livery of the year, 2024, Williams at Silverstone. And I say that because it was the most patriotic we ever seemed to get. in Britain in that we put a little bit of a subtle flag on the car. It wasn't an outlandish flag. It was not your Haas, giant eagle and, what the fuck is a kilometre and stars and stripes. It was just a slightly faded, I think it might have been made up of the team members' names, maybe. I think it was made up of some stuff. I haven't done my research on this. But it was just quite nice, the way they used the bodywork there, I think. And Williams feel to me like the most British team. Even though there's officially like 6 British teams, Williams feel like Britain's team, I feel like. Williams would vote Tory. They're the Tory team as well, I think. But that livery
probably
just...
are one of the few that actually have kind of the full kind of, this is where we started type thing. I'm just trying to think.
We're not just here logistically.
No, I mean, Mercedes are German. McLaren, as we started before the podcast, they're New Zealand.
It's a
Aston
Kiwi.
Martin are owned by a big Canadian man. That didn't really ever have
and
a
we're
massive
called
place
Force
in
India
Formula 1.
before that anyway.
Exactly. And the rest of them, I think, are just French. So,
yeah. So I think, I just think the Williams livery was tasteful. It was a classy and tasteful livery. It was like a Harrods picnic basket of a livery, is what that was.
Yeah, overpriced.
And then an honourable mention from me, I think the McLaren in Singapore was quite sexy, and I'd be quite happy if McLaren chose to run that livery next year. There was someone on Reddit, I, again, haven't done my research, won't give you a shout out on the username, but when you listen to this, obviously you'll know it's you. Someone did a mock-up livery for McLaren next year, and it was quite similar, that they basically took the black parts of this year's car and made them white. We don't get enough white cars at the minute, and white cars are weirdly sexy. Boring road cars, sexy F1 cars, so I'd quite happily see a return of that McLaren Singapore livery next year.
That's rewarding teams down the back end of the grid.
That's what we do. What we do.
Go on, that
Nice.
Haas. We notice you, Haas and Williams. We
Sometimes.
recognise you. Game recognises game.
It's like Perez winning Action of the Year. Like, you just got to hand out these consolation prizes. Everyone gets a medal. It's like points down to P20.
And then just like a nice little pat on the head towards the end of it. Yeah.
That's what it is. Driver of the Year 2024. Dan Jads, who have you gone for?
Yes. My driver of the year, again, with a couple of honourable nominations. I've got Yuki Tsunoda in there. I think he kind of outperformed his teammates throughout the course of the year, and I think he finished 12th in the end for the Drivers' Championship, which is pretty good. And there were some good performances, there were some stinky ones. Another one, which actually really surprised me when I looked through, is that Pierre Gasly finished 10th in the Drivers' Championships, with something at the start of the year that had square wheels and basically no engine, with a Flintstones kind of cut out in the bottom where they had to run around, and they had some maniacal teammate that drove into him in the start at Monaco. And I don't know, I mean, buckle yourself in, folks, but my driver of the year for 2024 is none other than Max Verstappen. He dominated the start of the year, didn't he? Absolutely smashed it. Fair enough, it did take a few of the other teams to get their house in order and figure out what they needed to do to get a car that was competitive, whether it was legal or not legal with flexi wings, we don't know. But to dominate the start like he has done, you can't look past that. Then also to remain incredibly competitive throughout the second two-thirds of the season, when the car was by far and away kind of the third, if not fourth fastest car on the grid, with a teammate that was absolutely honking it in the other side of the garage. I just think, I know people will look at some of the other ones, and I know the 21 will be tainted for me. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to look past that. It will be tainted. I can accept the fact that that's the way that the book is written now, but I still don't think it's right. 22, 23 were boring, but this one, like, it feels like he genuinely has had to work and kind of scrap for this. It was just a shame that maybe the other teams didn't get their act together 2 or 3 weeks earlier, and we would have had a real kind of ding-dong towards the back end of the season. But yeah, he was flawless, really, other than a bit of buggery in Mexico. But other than that, it was superb.
What I found really interesting with Verstappen this year, specifically Verstappen-Norris head-to-head, and if you go back and look at the stats of why he managed to hold Lando off so much, Lando and Verstappen after Miami, it wasn't quite, but it was near enough like a 50-50 split of who finished ahead of who in the head-to-heads.
Yeah.
It may be 55-45 in favour of Verstappen. But when Verstappen did finish ahead of Norris, it was by multiple places. And when Norris finished ahead of Verstappen, they were generally running one in front of the other.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to that consistency that is just, the bloke very rarely has a bad day. Or his bad day is, I finished P4. what a stinker of a weekend. On to next week. And I think that is, I think there's a lot to be said for that. You can't argue, can you? I've very deliberately not gone with Verstappen because I kind of assumed that one of us would be serious about this. And that leads quite nicely onto this. My driver of the year for 2024 is going to raise some eyebrows. I've gone with Lance Stroll. And you're going to have to stay with me on this because it takes a little bit of unpacking. So get a coffee.
Right.
What is so impressive to me about Lance Stroll is that he is still in the sport for a start and that he's not been in some way banned, pushed aside, had some sort of falling out with his own dad. It's so impressive to me that he just turns up year after year as the best Canadian driver in like 18 years of Formula One or something.
Wow.
Statistically, he is the best Formula One driver from Canada in like 18 years. But it's like the bloke at work that is just so bad at their job or doesn't turn up or whatever, but somehow flies under the radar and gets away with it. And you almost have to be impressed that he's making however many $1 million a year to be quite that bad. It's amazing to me. And the glazing he's managed to get from everyone, that he finished like 50 points behind Fernando Alonso this year. And I know his team principal's not going to come out and say he's shit and he's a prick. But his team principal's come out and gone, well, actually, I think you'll find that Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso are pretty evenly matched and, pretty neck and neck this year. No, objectively not. And yet somehow he's still there and he's getting pats on the back from people. So I don't know how he's doing it. I don't want to go into the details of how he got there. It's kind of magic. But Lance Stroll, 2024 Driver of the Year, you can't top it. I've come off the long run and I'm standing by it. So,
what a guy.
Tell me I'm wrong. The bloke doesn't know how to drive an F1 car and he's driven an F1 car for like 100 Grand Prix starts or something. So, fair play.
I won't argue with that logic. I won't argue with it because it is sound. It is sound. It's well thought out, and the way you've worded it is pretty kind of impenetrable logic there. There were three things that popped up with Lance Stroll in the last couple of weeks that made me chuckle. In fact, that one, and I haven't fact-checked it, but if Fernando Alonso had just sat out the rest of the season after the first 4 rounds of the World Championship, Lance Stroll still wouldn't have caught him in the points. That's one fact.
Yep.
Another one was somebody coming together with some wild scenario saying that Lance is the best Canadian Formula One driver ever. Now, bearing in mind that Jacques and Gilles Villeneuve, I believe, are both world champions. But that doesn't really count because the points were different and they didn't have as many races and stuff like that. So that doesn't really matter. Is another kind of wild, kind of baffling situation. Another one is when you said like he's earning millions of dollars. Is he actually earning millions of dollars or is he just costing his dad millions of dollars?
They are going into his bank account.
Yes, but they're never actually leaving the family, are they? Like, do you reckon it goes through the Aston Martin payroll? Do you think he gets, like, at the end of the year, his P118 or whatever the hell it is that gives you your tax codes and all this other stuff? Or does he just get, like, is it essentially like a trust fund type situation?
Pocket money.
With Sir Lawrence? Or is
it
like...
pocket money.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But all these things, I feel like
Daddy,
you're doubling
I've spent
down.
It. Can I have some more, please?
That he's getting, he's still there and he's got another contract and he's going to be back in Australia round 1 next year. I don't know how it's happening, but it's happening. And fucking hell, go on, son. Go on with the son. Incredible.
On the flip side to Red Bull, though, Aston Martin, they're investing in their young driver.
Yes,
they're not chopping him out after 6 races.
Nope. You stay there for as long as you like, Sonny
You're doing it right, Aston Martin.
And then finally,
yep.
Fuck up of the year. And this is this speaks true and dear to the hearts of Lapdown, I think.
Yes.
I might start with fuck up of the year, bearing in mind that I shortlisted Lance Stroll for fuck up of the year. So just have both sides of the coin there.
Just providing balance.
Yeah, exactly. No. For me, the biggest fuck up of the year in 2024 in Formula One was Papaya Rules and McLaren for that entire near enough second half of the season that all kind of kicked off from that. Because they just got it so wrong to the point that they turned their own fan base into some sort of civil warring Hunger Games thing, Lord of the Flies type situation, where they'd win a race and you'd go into the comments on their Instagram and like the top 5 or 6 comments are angry about what's happened. But the accounts are called like Papaya Forever and McLaren Fan 74 and all this, but they're angry that they won because they just managed to turn the fan bases of their own drivers against each other by just not really knowing what they were doing, or at least very much not communicating that well. The whole guilt tripping on the radio and stuff, it just set them off on a really bad path that if they'd have just come out and gone, number one focus, Lando winning Drivers' Championship. We are confident that we will win the Constructors, and if Lando wins the Drivers by association, we will win the Constructors, so we are full send. And all they would need is Oscar to come out with a little 15-second selfie video. Hi guys, so excited for the back half of the year. We've got a great car now. Lando's in with a great shot of the World Drivers' Championship this year. We're all behind him, full send, papaya, 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 yay. And the rest of the season could have played out in exactly the same way, but I feel like the vibes would have just been better. And I just think they just fucked it up. They fucked it up.
Yeah, and I think they probably could have got Oscar to do that as well. I don't necessarily know if they'd have managed to get Lando to have done that particularly easily, but I do feel like Oscar, as the younger one of the two of them, earlier in his career, I feel they would have kind of been able to have been like, yeah, this is what we need to do. But yeah, I think it certainly qualifies for a fuck up, and it's up there. So you had Lance Stroll, you had McLaren. Did you have any others as your honourable mentions? Because I reckon we've probably got at least kind of 6 different things here. Because certainly the 2 that you've mentioned so far, I've not got on my shortlist.
Yeah. Alpine for about the first 40% of the year, disastrous.
Yeah.
Lance Stroll, most of the year disastrous. Sergio Perez, most of the year disastrous.
Yeah.
Just fuck ups all over. I will give a genuine shout out, I think, as well to the whole Danny Rick disappearing situation. That was horrendously handled.
Yeah.
It still feels like the right decision, to be perfectly honest with you. At that point, might still come back. I think he has said he's done now, but can't argue with the decision. But they went about it horrifically, and I think they've acknowledged that as well.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So my fuck up of the year. We've mentioned a few of these already in different kind of categories. I will start with Alpine. I'm not going to start about them as the entire team. I'm just going to start specifically about them, about their announcement with their camo livery that they were going to run in 2024. This is it.
Yep.
I'm still not over it, but this is my final opportunity in the calendar year of 2024 to box it off and not have to speak about it in 2025 until they come up with like some neon fluoro pink thing in testing and they're like, this is what we're going to do, and they just don't. So that pissed me off. I still don't think they kind of gained any brownie points throughout the course of the year. The one at the end of the season was nice, but it still wasn't what you told me you were going to do, and that upset me a lot. The second one was the whole kind of Lewis Hamilton fiasco going to Ferrari. Mainly, the biggest fuck-up was Ferrari's comms with signing the 7-time world champion, one of, if not the greatest Formula One driver ever to have driven in the sport. And there was a 1080 by 1080 square on the Ferrari Instagram page that just said, welcome, Lewis. So that was disappointing. Plus, furthermore, the whole kind of merry-go-round of bollocky and terrible comms and everything like that threw the whole drivers' market into a spin so much earlier than what it needed to be was a bit of a fuck-up all round. But my fuck-up of the year, and he did get quite a bit of airtime at the start of this podcast, and it isn't to do with him specifically, but it does involve Sergio Perez. Because Sergio Perez was the man that walked into Milton Keynes with a pen and signed the contract that Red Bull put in front of him. That, for me, has got to be the biggest mistake in the year of 2024. He was under contract to the end of this year anyway. You've done it to motivate and incentivize him. No. That ship had sailed, lads. The way you motivate somebody is going, well, if you perform well, there's a contract at the end of the year because we're going to reward you for doing well. We don't reward mediocrity. And they've ended up in a terrible situation throughout the rest of the year, up there with the papaya rules type situation with this is what we're doing, this is not what we're doing. We spoke that they had an easy win by putting Danny Ricciardo in there. They could have done that. They could have promoted Lawson in there if they wanted to. They could have kept Perez on that contract till the end of this year, and they would have just gone, look, the contract's expired, we're moving on. But instead, they've had to get to the end of 2024 with everybody kind of going, what the hell are you doing? and then finally go, yeah, we've actually terminated the contract. I mean, why have you created that work for yourself, Red Bull? And for that, you are the proud owner of the Dan Jad's F1 2024 Fuck Up of the Year trophy.
Yeah, they've tried to light a fire under him, but instead of lighting a fire, they just put like a very thick cushion.
Yes.
They've done the opposite of what they were trying to do. And it's also ended up costing him, by all accounts, like $16 million or something that they've had to buy him out to get out of his contract.
Mental.
Which is wild. I mean, look, we don't work in the sports side of, the contract and agent side of Formula One, but I mean, McLaren had to pay a big old chunk to Danny Rick, and now Perez has had to get paid a big old chunk by Red Bull. I will say, fair play Checo for standing your ground on that. Fair play Checo's agent as well for digging those heels in and saying, either we're not leaving or you're giving us all of the money in Milton Keynes, and everyone can have a bottle of tequila. I won't argue with you. And I think we've summed up all of 2024 there. There you go. That was 12 months of racing.
Done.
Simple as that. We'll be back in 2025 for more lap down podding. So we'll take a week or two off now, and then we'll start running away. We're already not that far away from racing being back, and I feel like Abu Dhabi was about 2 minutes ago. Ferrari have announced their car launch date, which is not the date of the F1 event.
Brilliant.
So we're already getting messy on car launches and the launch event and all the rest of it. So Lord knows what's going on there. But thank you to everybody that's listened this year. We've got a growing little family of people that are listening and engaging with the videos and the TikToks and the podcasts and all the rest of it. So thank you for being with us this year. We will be back next year for more chat. In the meantime, Dan, if they'd like to see you, they can do that where and how?
You can, but you won't see anything new because I'm not doing anything now up until the new year. So at DanJads_. If you want to come and hang out on any of those platforms, you're very, very welcome to. And someone that's going to do even less than me over the course of the thing is yourself, Alex. And I think that's Alex type that, isn't it? As your or Halo.
This is not the shirt of a man that's doing things at the minute.
No, but a Tony Bahamas type situation going on there.
This is not. No, if people want to go and see the other thing I see, the other stuff I do, you can go and check out mediaberry.co.uk, where I write about tech and gaming and stuff like that. So you can go and do that at some point if you'd like. But in the meantime, have a lovely holiday season, everybody, in whichever way you celebrate that. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk more shit about cars.
Can't wait. Have fun.
See you next year.